Hello Python programmers. So in this video, we'll understand the insertion sort algorithm. So this video is of two sections. In the first section, we'll understand the theory part. This is why I am on the whiteboard. And in the second part, we'll create a Python program to do insertion sort. So let's start off with the theory part first. So let's say that we have a list 1, 5, 9, 15, 0, 1. Okay, so this is a list which is not sorted, as you can see. So we are asked to use the insertion sort algorithm to sort the list. So how will that happen? Let me show you. So first of all, we'll divide this list into two sections, the sorted one and the unsorted one. So the first element of the list is always the sorted one. So this is sorted, and all the elements rest are the unsorted ones. Okay, so now what will happen is the first element of the unsorted one will be compared to the character just before that. Okay, so this 5 will be compared to 1. Now 5 is not smaller than 1, so this will not change its place. So now these two elements are sorted. Okay, so these two elements are sorted, and now the first element of the unsorted one, which is 9, will be compared with 5. Okay, so this is not smaller than 5, obviously, so this won't change the place either. Okay, so this will also become the sorted part of the list. Okay, now 15 will be compared with 5. Same will happen. This won't change, and this will also become the part of the sorted list. Now 0 is obviously smaller than 15. Okay, so now the values will be changed. So it will become 1, 5, 9, 15. Okay, so not 15, actually I got up in the flow. So the value will be swapped. It will become 0 and it will become 15 and then 1. Okay, so this is the first iteration, the first change in the iteration. Actually many iteration took place here, but this was the first iteration in which a change happened. Okay, so now what will happen is this 0 will be compared to the element previous to that. Okay, so this 0 will be compared to 9, which is smaller. So now the values will be swapped again. So this will become 0, 9, 15 and 1. Okay, once again the 0 will be compared with 5, and then 0 will be compared with 1. So 0 will come to the very first element of the list, and then 1, 5, 9, 15 and 1. Okay, so now this section of the list are sorted and this is unsorted. Okay, so the rule of the selection sort is you create two part of the list or the array. First part is the sorted part and the second part is the unsorted part. You take the first element of the unsorted part and then just compare it with all the elements of the sorted part. Hence, the first element of the unsorted part will automatically fix to its respectable position. Okay, so I guess you got my point here. Okay, so let's go to our system. Okay, so now we are into our editor. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll create the function in which our list will be sorted. So let's name this as insertion sort, and the parameter that will be provided here is list1, which is the list. Okay, now the first thing that we'll do is we'll create a for loop for I in range or for any variable in range, and then we'll go through all the characters or all the elements of the list as I have explained you on the whiteboard. Okay, now don't worry, because I'll also explain you after writing the code and in between the code also that what is happening. Okay, So let's move step by step. So for I in range, and then we want to move from the second element because the first element is already sorted. So we'll start off with the second element. That is why we'll write 1 here, because in any list in Python the indexing starts with 0. So we'll write 1 here, and then we'll write the length of it should be the length of the list, which is list 1. Okay, so we are going from 1 to the length of the list. Okay, then let's create a current element variable which will store the index or the actually the character that is present on our list, the current character for which we want to compare. So just a second, it should be index. Okay, and then we'll create a position variable also, so that we can save this index into another variable. Now I'll explain you that why we are doing so, and you will also understand this as we move ahead. Okay, so now let's create a while loop so that we can compare the element from our previous elements. As I've explained you on the whiteboard, that we'll select an element that we have already selected in this for loop, and then that character will be compared with all the previous character and then will be inserted at the appropriate position. So for current element, now if the current element is less than the list 1 of index, this is why we took this position variable, and then we'll subtract by 1 because we are comparing it to the previous value. Okay, and then we need to add another condition here. Now we need to stop it should be position here. So we need to stop this while loop when we reach 0, because we don't want an error, which is pretty much understood, I guess. So now what we'll do is, if this condition is true, if the current element is smaller than the previous element, then what we'll do is we'll assign the value to the previous index, or we'll shift that character to the previous index. So we'll simply do one thing, then we'll write position. Okay, and then we'll shift that to the list 1 to the position -1. Okay, so pretty simple, I guess. There is nothing to explain here. We are shifting the character from list. Actually, this is list 1. Why have I written list? Where was the first place that I've written? Okay, so this should be list 1. Okay, it should be list 1. Okay, so now we have compared the character to the previous one. Now what we have to do is we need to decrease the position with position -1 because we are moving backwards. Now let me take some time to explain you that what is happening, but first of all let's write if this current element is greater than the list of the previous character. So what we'll do is we'll do nothing. We'll simply write list 1 position position is equal to the current element, because this is at the right place. So now let me take some time to explain you this function before we execute it. Okay, so this is the function name, insertion sort, which accepts only one parameter, which is the list. Then we'll create a for loop so that we can take one element at a time. So for I in range, I is the value that we'll take. Actually, it should be index. Okay, so for index in range 1 to length of list, it should be list here. This is why this mistake was happening. Okay, so for index in range 1 to length of list 1, so it will go from the second character to the length of the list. Okay, so pretty simple. then we'll select the current element. So what we'll do is we'll select the second element in the first case. We are understanding the first case first. So we'll select the second element as our current element. So all the conditional checking will be performed on this current element, and then we'll create a variable position for the index also, just in case. Then what we'll do is we'll write a while loop which will compare the current element, which is the second element in the first case, with the list one position -1. So we are moving backwards, position -1, the current position of the element, and we are moving ahead by subtracting it by 1. And then we also don't want that position is 0, so that we don't go -1, -2, and it will raise an error. Okay, so yeah. Then what we'll do is, if this situation is correct, or if this condition is correct, then we'll replace the character. We'll do list one position. So whatever the element is at the certain position will move to position -1 or the previous position as it is smaller than that. Okay, we are sorting this in ascending order. If we want to do the descending order, we'll provide less than here. Okay, less than. But we are doing ascending order, so we'll use this greater than symbol. Okay, now if there are 10 to 20 elements of the list and we are at the certain position, we also want to move backwards. So we have to decrease the position by 1. Then if this condition is not true, if the current element is greater than the list one position, character is at its perfect position, or it should be placed. So we'll simply say that the list one position is equal to current, where this character should be present. Okay, now let's create the list one variable.